So yeah, we put together a bit of a presentation today. Now we're getting a little bit more confident with Zoom. Let's hope it works. If anything breaks, we'll blame the tech and not the host. But yeah, so last week the government announced more measures for the self-employed, and it's probably raised as many questions as what it has answers. But we'll go through the main government measures and where we stand now. So the first thing they announced is a job retention scheme. So this is the 80% grants that we've been talking about and you've seen in the news. VAT, next quarter's VAT, anything due up to the 30th of June is being deferred. However, and you don't need to pay it till the 5th of April 2021. You must still submit your VAT returns. This isn't a holiday from submitting the VAT returns or getting them done. They still expect them in, and they'll be chasing them if not. The July 2020 payment on account has also been deferred, and they're asking you to pay it in January if you're unable to pay it this year. There's a new self-employment income support scheme. It's been given the catchy acronym SEISS, where we'll go into that in a bit, but it's basically an 80% grant for 95% of self-employed people. Statutory sick pay is going to be paid to small businesses where they've got employees off with coronavirus or if they've been affected by it. There's a 12-month business rate holiday for retail, hospitality, leisure and nursery businesses in England. And that is in England. Other countries within the UK, that's been devolved. There's a small business grant funding of 10k for all businesses in receipt of small business rate relief. Chorley Council have started paying it, but we were talking to Tim before this starting. You might have heard some of what we were talking about. Wigan Council have been slow off the mark and not giving much info, but Chorley Council are all over that, but that's only if you've got business premises. And if your rateable value is over 15,000 and you're in retail, hospitality or leisure, and it's your RV's under 51 or between 15 and 51, then you can get a grant of up to 25,000. And I've put this in italics and inverted commas because it's not quite as good as what I think it's been sold as, but there's a coronavirus business interruption loan scheme offering loans of up to 5 million for SMEs. And then there's a time to pay scheme. So this would be covering corporation tax and PAYE. If you're struggling to pay those two taxes, get in touch with HMRC. And there's a special number, an 0800 number, and normally they're giving you 12-month payment plans. So there's a self-employed grant here at last, or help at last, but not for a while. The grant's going to start getting paid out early June, and it's going to be based on 80% of average monthly earnings for the 3 years up to the 5th of April. If you've traded for less time than that, they will take an average of what they've got. So if you only trade, if 18-19 was your first year, they'll do an average of your first year. Your 18-19 return must be submitted. I think the deadline's like 3 weeks away. So if you know anyone who needs any help, who's not a customer of ours, needs to get the return in, then send them our way if they're looking for someone to help them with it, because we can definitely help. But if that return isn't submitted, the government won't be paying the money out. You must be able to show a loss from the virus. Some of our self-employed customers are still trading, but they've definitely taken a hit. So even if you're still trading, but as long as you can prove you've taken a loss on it, then you'll be able to claim the grant. Your average earnings must be less than 50,000, and then HMRC will contact you for the grant. There's nothing we can do to expedite it. If you need help getting the figures, obviously that's what we're here for. If you want to know roughly what you're going to be getting, let us know. Just bear with us if we take a bit of time coming back to you. As you can imagine, we're getting quite a few sort of queries at the moment. Can you amend your tax return to get a more 80%? I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but I've seen that question batted around some of the accountants forums I'm in. No, we won't do that. And as well, because we're looking over 3 years, any extra profit that you might have would be swallowed up with the extra tax, and then there's potential penalties, so you've got errors on your tax return. So we're not we're not going down there with that. So that's the self-employed grant in a nutshell. The revenue are sending forms out next month, I think they said, or early May, and then they're looking to have the money paid out early June. That's the deadline they've given themselves. So this is off the back of the self-employed grant. We got this off quite a few directors we look after, asking are they self-employed, and the answer is probably not. We do look after some company owners or directors who do have self-employed income, but I think out of the 140 that we look after, it's definitely less than 10, probably less than 5. So there is a bit of confusion, and if I'm being completely honest, I do think it's a bit of a raw deal for owner-managed business owners, where for tax reasons we've put you on low salaries and high dividends, but that isn't self-employment. If you can't work, then it's going to be covered under the furlough scheme, which we'll go into in a bit. But unfortunately, it is a bit of a raw deal. Now, Rebecca Bennyworth, who's quite high up in the tax world, she's got an MBE for Services to Tax. She's taken it up with ICAEW, HMRC, and well, to see if it can be extended for salary and divs, even if they have the cap at 50k. I think it would help a lot of people. But currently, there doesn't seem to be a big campaign. I think I read somewhere on one of the accounting forums, if you want to get it noticed, you've got to get it in the Sun newspaper. So if anyone knows anyone in the Sun and can get it going, I think that's a level of interest it needs to attract for the Chancellor to do something about it. So who is self-employed? It's basically anyone who does a trade themselves or within a partnership, and not through a limited company. Income from property doesn't count, or any investment. It's doing a job, photography business, dog walking business, financial services, but self-employed and not through a company. So our director's self-employed. Again, that's a question that we've been getting asked, and again, the answer is probably not. They could have a self-employment. We look after one of our customers is a DJ on a weekend, and he's got a business during the week in his trade. So he does have self-employment and is a director too. But in most cases, probably not. The furloughing information came out last week, so the government are giving some detailed information on who can join. So these are the typical questions we're being asked. I'm just going to sort of answer them as we go. This is causing quite a few questions. Directors can furlough themselves in some circumstances, especially if you're in a shop, restaurant, or in a trade that's completely stopped as a result of government action, and you're a director of that business, and there's nothing you can do in the day-to-day running of your business, you can furlough yourself. Furloughing yourself doesn't mean that you can't do anything like liaising with us as your accountants to get your accounts done, because they're your statutory duties as a director to make sure the company's being run properly. But you can't be doing any work. So you can furlough yourself, but you can't do any work. Whereas, as an example, me now doing these sort of webinars, emails, picking up new customers, liaising with the team, that is day-to-day my job. So I wouldn't be able to furlough myself. If there's multiple directors, can one furlough and the others work? And the answer to that is yes. You might have different roles within your team, and if that's the case, then one could be furloughed, one not. Can employees take second jobs? Now, in the furlough information we sent out last week, we put what was it, Steph? What did it say exactly? Can you remember?
It was like a pro forma.
Yeah, that was it.
Sort of contract for you to give to your staff that we'd been sent, hadn't we?
Yeah. So it says on there that you can't do any other work. Now that's more protection for you as an employer, to make sure your employees aren't working for your competitors, and you can, if they did, then you can go down the route of gross misconduct if they've contravened that. The questions we've been typically getting asked are from our directors, some of whom work or have worked for the NHS as nurses, paramedics, and it says this on the furloughing site, on the government site, that you can take secondary income So you can work for one employer but be furloughed for the other. It's absolutely not an issue. The reason we've put that in, or we've not took it out of the contracts, is to protect you as employers. If you want to take it out, and if you're fine with your employee going stacking shelves at Tesco or Morrison's whilst they can't work for you, that's absolutely fine. Take it out, but we're just making sure we're trying to cover you as best we can. Can you increase your salary to increase the 80%? This is very similar to the self-employed question. On this, what the revenue are going to look at is the higher of last year's earnings, the previous 12 months, or the same month last year. So if you give yourself a chunky pay rise for March, for March to then claim in April, the tax and national insurance you're going to pay is going to outweigh what you're going to get back off the government. So we wouldn't advise that. Furlough doesn't cover dividends, it covers PAYE. We've just got a question here. Come on, I've got each other. It's 9 hours a week at children's nursery. We'll get to that in a bit. No, actually, yeah, we can answer that now. If she's 9 hours a week, has she been cut back? Because I know nurseries are still open. So I guess if she's still working her 9 hours a week, then no, she wouldn't be able to claim anything. If she's looking to claim anything privately, it would be through the benefits system as an employee. Or if she was furloughed, if her employer decided that there was no work for her, then all they would need to pay would be 80% of the 9 hours. Is there a standard furlough form? This is the contract we sent out last week. If anyone's not got it, let us know and we'll send it out. It does cover everything. If you know one of your employees is going to be working at Tesco or Morrison's or going working for the NHS in this period, you can take it out. It's absolutely fine. Or you can maybe caveat it and say, unless you ask us first. Yeah, and like I alluded to before, it's calculated at the higher of 80% of the average of like the previous 12 months earnings or the same month last year. The revenue are building a portal, which we believe is going to be in place next month. We're saying that we're telling customers when they're planning cash flow to only bank on it coming at the end of May. If it comes in earlier, amazing. But if you think it's going to be the end of May, that's where I'd be thinking about it coming in. And yeah, the grants are taxable. Basically, they're netted back off. Well, the government have asked you to show them as net as income. So we'll probably be creating a line in the accounts to show the grants income coming in on your next set of accounts. We're also sending a disclaimer out today or from today for anyone who's furloughing their staff. We're not qualified legal experts or HR professionals. So we're just making sense of the information from those sort of people, but we are asking you to take further advice especially if there's any unusual circumstances, but to take external advice anyway. We can direct you in loads of different places. So just get in touch if you want to speak to anyone else. And yeah, that's fine, Greg. You had to make. Do we get these Q&As after, Steph? Can we access them after the webinar's finished? Yeah, we'll get that out to you, Greg.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'll get that sent.
Yeah, we would recommend that you do get the contracts in place. It does need to be an agreement. Now, this was something which was sent to me last night from one customer. I know we spoke to a couple of people in the team. The cash grants for businesses. This business has a cafe, or is a cafe, and there's a rumour going around some businesses can claim the grant twice. One for the small business rates grant, which businesses like ours can claim, and then one for the retail, hospitality and leisure grant. And when I initially researched it last night, I thought that he could claim it. However, on one of the accounting forums I've got, and we're going to link to this in the email after, one of the exclusions to the retail, hospitality and leisure grant is recipients eligible for the small business grant fund will not be eligible for the retail, hospitality and leisure grant. So unfortunately, that doesn't seem to work. I'm not saying that in the legislation because it's not in place yet, but it's a pretty detailed document saying who's going to get it and who isn't. the CBILS. I'm not sure how we can say that very easily, but it's a coronavirus business interruption loan scheme, which is a mouthful. So customers are asking should they get it, and I'm saying do your cash flow first. We sent out a video last week showing, and a template showing you how to do a weekly cash flow for the next 6 months, I think we did it for.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, make sure you exhaust your wage grant, your cash rates grant, the credit terms and debtors, and then what else can you cut back? And then once you've done that, revisit your cash flow. And one of our customers was asking, should he borrow 10k last week? And I said to him, well, how much do you need? And he said, I don't know. And unless you've done this grant, unless you've done the cash flow, I don't think you should be going speaking to a bank. And I think you should be doing these other things first, see what you can get. And once you've got everything and you've done your cash flow, then go for borrowing. If you need any help, get in touch with us because we can help make sure it's right. Now, what the banks are doing on the whole, and this is on the British banking what website we're sitting on, the britishbusinessbank.co.uk website. If they can offer you commercial lending first, so if you qualify for their lending scheme first, they're going to put you through the normal lending criteria and keep you within the bank. And basically they're doing this to keep hold of the better customers on the back end of this. If they can't, so if they consider you a more risky business, they're going to put you on this CBILS because then the government's capturing any potential losses. What they did say last week is what they've announced this week is there's going to be no personal guarantee on borrowing of up to 250k. And I've got the link in here, which we'll put in the notes for after. So that's the loan scheme, but it's really important that if you're going to borrow, if you think you need the money to get you, say, to the wage grant or to the or to cover debtors, that you get your cash flow in place first, because what we'd hate for you to do is not borrow enough to get you through it, or borrow too much and you can't make the repayments. And then more information, which we'll send after. So we've got a link to the support for businesses and the main measures. The retail grant funding advice, that contains the detail on the retail and hospitality grant, the job retention grants, and then the WhatsApp group, which I didn't think could take off, but there's 70 odd people in it now. So if anyone wants to join the WhatsApp group, we're sort of answering questions as we go. Feel free to join. Questions? Oh, stop share. So
yeah, so we have had a couple of questions. Tina missed the bit about the grants. Are you okay just to do a quick recap?
Yeah, so if you qualify for the small business grant, so your rateable value is under 15,000 and you write to the council or you fill in a form to get your rates reduced from whatever they are to zero, you'll get a cash grant of £10,000. Different councils are dealing with it in different ways. Tim said before the call that Wigan Council are being absolutely useless, whereas Chorley Council are being really proactive and they sent the forms out last week. It's all done online via a portal. It's not doesn't look the nicest, but it functions. And I think someone put in the WhatsApp group, last night was it Ben, I think, said that his grant's coming this week, or their business grants coming this week. So if you qualify for the small business rates grant, you won't be eligible for the retail hospitality grant. To be honest, I think they could have made it a bit simpler, to be honest, but in terms of the wording, because it is confusing, especially customers contacting us asking us can they get two, because it doesn't look that way. But you won't. You'll just get the one. If your rateable value is between 15 and 51,000, then you're not eligible for the small business grant, but you're eligible for the grant up to £25,000. But I'm not sure how that's been done
also,
yet.
Is it taxed?
We don't know, but I imagine it will be, because the government will be looking at ways to recoup some money. It feels a bit naughty, really, but they've not said it isn't. Although I am holding a bit of hope, because they've said the wage grant is taxable, but I've not read anything about the cash grant. So, but I'm presuming that it is.
Great. question from Mark. I presume with furlough, we can claim back. As an employer, we pay as normal. To confirm, the portal is not open to notify HMRC as of yet, is it?
No, the portal's not open yet. Is that in the Q&A? Yeah, I presume with furlough we claim back. As an employer, we pay as normal. Yeah, so it just depends what you're doing. If you're furloughing your staff and you're reducing the salary to 80%, you would, just like Michelle, know that you furloughed the staff, that you're reducing the pay to 80%. You've got all your signed contracts and furloughing documents back off them, and then you claim the grant back. So we're expecting that money to hit sort of back end of May, early June.
Have we heard anything in terms of council tax? Have you heard any whispers that that might get postponed, or any the wiser on that?
Would that be the personal council tax? It doesn't say, does it?
No.
And this is only from the thread. Was it last week? It must have been the last weekend when we were talking in the WhatsApp group, and then Chorley Council came out. I think, again, it's going to be done on a council by council basis. Well, I think what Chorley Council were talking about doing was deferring the first payment to June. So normally it's April to January. I'm presuming they'll go April to March. But then you're going to have 20 months straight of council tax payments rather than your 10 months, miss a couple of months. So
yeah, he's just said actually it's business council tax. Yeah, business council tax.
I wouldn't have thought. What's your rateable value? Do you mind saying, Andy? Because I'm sure when he said this morning when I was on the phone to you, I'm sure he said it was under 15,000, and if that's the case, you shouldn't be paying it. We can pick that up after. Yeah, we can pick that up after. So is that the bill 11k, or is that the rateable value? Because if the bill's 11, then the rateable value will be about double that. So your rateable value will be 22. So you're going to qualify under the retail, hospitality and leisure. So your cash grant will be more than 10, and it'll be between 10 and 25. It'll be the same for your wife as well, if she's over 15 on rateable value. So get in touch with what I imagine dancing now. Wait till you get the money first. What I imagine the council will say, because they're giving you the money, they'll want the money coming back, because that's what it's for. It's for unavoidable business expense. That's what they're paying out for, things like rents and rates. So don't bank on the 25. It's going to be between 10 and 25. I know there's some calculations out there. I've just not had a look. See what the calculation is. Tina keeps losing us. Don't worry, we can.
Has anyone else got any questions you want to send through? I can unmute you as well if you'd rather talk. That's absolutely fine. Just raise your hand.
I've sent Helen's counsellor now sending the forms out and looking to pay from 6th of April. Thanks for letting us know. Let's hope Wigan follow suit for our Wigan customers. Is anyone raising the hand? No.
No, but someone has asked if they haven't heard from the council, should they wait for them to get in touch, or do they get in touch? How does it work?
I would get onto your council and find out what's going on. I know with was it Wigan Council yesterday? They were giving. In fact, Tim actually let me know, because there might have been a link in the WhatsApp group yesterday for Wigan Council customers. I would contact your council and ask them what's going on, especially because other councils are getting information, Beth. Ask them and just badger them, because what they're probably doing is all creating a portal for people to start paying it.
So I know we touched on this before in the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a director and you do not pay yourself on a PAYE scheme, are you entitled to anything? That's in the Q&A at the bottom.
No, not through. I'm just having a look now, just to see, because I know you're saying you don't pay yourself anything, but we do pay slips for you, Nigel. So you will be entitled to something. Plus, as well, do you get a small business rates relief on your market stall, I would think that you do. So then you're going to be looking at the 10k plus as well. You do have a bit of a salary going through, so I won't worry about that. It's not obviously as much as what it would have been self-employed, but you will be entitled to something. Oh yeah, so Elizabeth's comments. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I'm just going to say she's put that link on that she posted yesterday. Tim's just saying, does it go off the business or the director?
It'd be the business. So it's the business who has the bill. So the business will have a reference number. So yeah, if you could do that, I have 3. So there should be 3 separate rates bills for the different areas. And if you've not, there might be a little bit of work. Oh yeah, there is 3 different rates bills. Fine. Yeah, so you'll do it 3 times.
So one of our partnerships have asked, as a partnership, and I am also employed, will we both be eligible for the grant? That's in the Q&A at the bottom.
So on the partnership, and we'll go into this individually because there are a bit of details. One of the partners has been receiving the income. So that partner will be eligible for the 80% grant. We'll need to see what the profits have been because it'll be an average of the last 3 years. And we'll just have to see what profits you've had or the other partners had. If you're being furloughed, I'm not sure if you will be or not, because I know we've not had that conversation yet, then your employer will get the 80%, and it's up to them if they top you up to 100. So yeah, does that answer you there, Steph?
We can follow up if not.
Yeah. Is that something I asked
you?
All
right, she's just saying that she's not been furloughed.
Yeah, fine. So in terms of sorry, let me get that question back up.
Sorry, I think I've deleted it.
Have you deleted it?
Sorry.
What was the question?
So she's not being furloughed from UCLan.
Yeah, fine.
So in terms of the partnership, where does that stand in what she can get
so the revenue
that?
are going to be sending out a form. I've no idea what the form's going to be called or looks like, but that's what they said they're doing last week. They're sending a form out to all self-employed taxpayers, and I think they're going to be checking. So I don't think I said that. You need to have been self-employed on the 5th of April, by the 5th of April 2019. You need to have been self-employed during the 1920 tax year. You need to be continuing or intending to continue trade in 2021, providing you fit those criteria. And I think that's what they're going to be asking you. Have you traded this year? Because probably when they pay this out, they won't have had your 1920 tax return yet. So they'll be checking that you've still been self-employed. So I think that answers that. So you've got to wait for the form, and I'm sure as soon as you guys start getting them, you'll be letting us know. I'll expect that flood of questions next month. Nigel, if I'm a director in Newport, don't take a wage. So you'll only get your 80% from wherever you're on a payroll scheme. So if you're only on a payroll scheme on one of your sites, you will only get the furlough salary if you can't work from that site. You can, if you was director on both, or if you was being paid a salary on both, then potentially you could have claimed furlough on both, but there would be tax efficiency reasons why that hadn't happened. So unfortunately you won't get one from both in your case. Your furlough, is that separate to the other money we claim? And do you sort it out? How do we get it paid? I don't know if he's been furloughed. So if you need to decide whether employees are being furloughed, and once you've decided that, you let Michelle know, who does our payroll. Once Michelle knows, she's keeping a track of anyone who is being furloughed, and then the revenue are creating a portal. Once the portal's created, the way I think it's going to happen is we're going to fill the form, and I think it will depend on who it goes to, and then the money. And I'm not sure how he's going to get paid. I'm presuming it's going to be by bank transfer. The revenue are pretty good now at getting you to fill in a form online and then paying your money back out. I know they do it for CIS for companies. We used to have to send letters off and it used to take 3 months, and now it takes a lot less time and you can do it online. So how do I know if he's been furloughed? Well, you tell us. If he can't do any work, and going off what he does, if he's not working, then he can't do any work, because what he does is a manual job out in the open. So if he's not working, then from my understanding of what he does, you will be able to furlough John in that case, Joanne. I'm presuming it's Joanne asking, sorry.
Yeah, cheers.
Yes, we will be trading as we're moving weddings to next year. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, our weddings a bit. Yeah, we're speaking to one of our customers today. I'm not sure he's on today, but they've had to move their wedding back 12 months. Transferring cash each month. Yeah, so the expense will still be tax deductible. That's absolutely not an issue. Just make sure you get us your receipts and invoices. I know you guys are pretty on it with that sort of stuff. So just make sure you keep getting us your information, and rather than basically we'll treat it as partners, as a credit to partners drawings, to clear that down.
Michelle has just said that the furlough reclaim will be paid by backs.
Amazing.
So I guess it's once we see what them forms look like, if we need to supply any information, just let us know.
Yeah.
I think touching on the question there about expenses, it's probably a good point to just say, whilst it might not be your priority to get all your information to us for the next tax year, that is now, is it next week? Does that start next week?
Yeah.
Week after?
No,
it's
5th April. Sunday.
It's
probably last day of the tax year.
Yeah, the best time to be getting your stuff to us. We understand obviously what's going on, but now more than ever, it's really, really crucial everyone knows where they're at business-wise. If you are one of the people that typically put it off till January, that's not the time to be doing it now, especially if you're not working. You've not really got an excuse. Get everything together. It doesn't have to be in any order. We just want you to get your stuff to us so we can help you the best we possibly can.
Yeah, it just allows you to budget for later in the year, because if we are going to be off for, I know it was mentioned at the weekend that this could be 6 months. If we are off for 6 months, that's going to take us up to back end of September. I imagine any reserves you had for paying your tax will have been depleted by then. So we'd much rather before you go back to work how much you need to put to one side to pay at the end of January, because I bet people are going to get a bit excited when we're all allowed back out, and it'd be quite easy to spend all your money. But we want to make sure they don't get in any trouble with HMRC next year by not being able to pay your tax bills.
Yeah, and just on that, the new tax year letter will go out to everyone. But if you are one of the clients that brings us physical records and paperwork, please make sure you get in touch first, because obviously we're not at the office at the moment. So just give us a call and arrange drop off and collection, and we'll get that sorted, no problem.
Yeah, great. Although one of our customers has just texted me this morning saying he's been pulled over doing, he's got a dog walking business, and he's been pulled over today by the police for potential issue with a fine. So make sure you're fitting it in with your daily exercise or something in case you do get pulled over, because Lancashire Police have been one of the forces that have been highlighted as being a bit keen with their enforcement notices this last week. And I almost thought it was a bit made up, like you do with most things in the newspaper, till that customer just texted me then saying he's just been told off for doing non-essential things. But yeah, we'll be able to get it sorted anyway. Yeah, Elizabeth, I think I posted a query last week around apprentices continue with online learning while being furloughed. I wonder if this is relevant for anyone else on here. I'm not too sure, just looking at the list. Maybe Ross could, oh no, sorry, I'm thinking of a different Ross, sorry, who used to do.
I know, I spoke to a client last week. He has got an apprentice that is furloughed, but obviously they've still got the duty to carry on learning online. and they can still access. I know all the colleges have been sending stuff out with all their courses now accessible online, so
Yeah,
can
I'd say
do
that's a
all the
separate
stuff
issue, would you?
for that.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
anyone, I don't think anyone who's keeping up with the college work will affect them being furloughed, for you as the employer or them as the employee.
Yeah, because they're not technically doing the work, are they?
No. So can people on SSP, can they be furloughed? What I've read is no, they can't, but you can furlough them when they're off SSP. In that case, are they off with coronavirus? I think it's something else, isn't it, Tim? Andy just set my rates bill, and its rateable value is 10.5k. I don't think is it. And the bill was 5239. Do you apply for small business rate relief? In your case, Andy, it's going to be the 10 grand, not between 10 and 25.
Can you claim SSP as well as furlough? Is that for the same person?
Oh, no, someone else. No, not at the same time. Cancer. If she's going to be off for a significant period of time, it will be the SSP. I'm not really too sure on the legalities, because I know if you brought her back on the payroll, she'd probably get more and you get the money back, but I'm not sure on the legalities of that. We shared last week a video from a top employment law barrister that was about an hour long, and he did give a couple of tips. Well, you can't really call them tips, but some advice in it, without perjuring himself. He's going to be doing it. Well, Simon, the guy who interviewed him, is trying to get him to do another one in light of all the information being released on the detailed furlough information. So if that comes out, then what we'll do is definitely share that as well, because his expertise is second to none. He charges a lot of money to get the advice that he was giving out last week for free. So if we can get that, we can do that. I might ask Michelle to have a look into that, Tim. My sort of gut feeling is no, she'll be just on statutory sick if she's signed off. I'm not sure how the 80% would work anyway if she's been off for a little while. Yes, and I get the small business relief. Yeah, so we'll get, for you, Tim, we'll get Michelle to have a look into that to see if we can.
Elizabeth has just come back about the apprentice, which is really interesting that she's read, and it is saying that if workers are required to, for example, complete online training courses whilst they are furloughed, then they must be paid at least the national minimum wage for the time spent training.
Yeah, so what you might need to do is top them up, because I imagine you're paying them the minimum wage for the apprenticeship. So was Meg, she had to do 1 day a week, didn't she, I think, Steph? So
I think it's something like 20 hours. I think it's hours that they have to do in a certain.
Is it?
In a certain, yeah. We'll double check it and come back to you, Elizabeth.
Yeah. What I think you'll need to do is top them up for that percentage of.
Because a lot of it is classed now as on the job training, and we had to factor that in when we had an apprentice. We had to factor that in here. Obviously, they now can't do on the job training because there's no job. So it's looking at that really.
Yeah, where do I? Oh yeah, in the Q&A, where do I bring receipts for last quarter? Possibly the office, although the office has been locked up so you can't even get to our letterbox at the moment. So if you just let us know, drop us an email, and then we can either arrange for it to be picked up or dropped off at one of our houses, wherever's easiest. In your case, Steph, it might work with Claire, to be honest. Obviously, we'll need to have a chat with Claire, but she's fairly local to yourself. Now, if I take an 80% furlough but draw more money out to me, my overheads at home, will this affect my tax or furlough situation? No, it won't. because you're not doing any work in the business. It's not to do with your drawing. So if you furlough your staff, you can still pay them 100% of the salary if you want. Our returns are done. They will be done up to date, up to the end of December. I think your last VAT quarter was. So your next VAT quarter will be the end of March, and then your self-assessments also now. The VAT, if there is any VAT due, Steph, won't need to be paid. Won't need to be paid until 5th of April next year if you don't want to. My partner closed in maternity leave and was intending to come back to work. However, all work is shut down. Can she still claim on the self-employed grant? She did work until the end of May 19. So did she work for the full 18-19 tax year, Tom? If she did, I think she's going to be one of the lucky ones. I guess the devil will be in the detail. But if she was self-employed for 18-19 and prior to that, then my understanding of it is, well, she did trade in 1920, or at least some of it, and she's intending to trade in 2021, or when everything starts back up again. So I think she'll be able to claim that. Is 20% of their contracted hours? Sorry, Steph, I'm not sure what that means. Was that answering a previous question?
Yeah, so when I said about the apprentice, about the 20%.
Yes, 1 day a week, isn't it? Yeah, Elizabeth. So what I think you'll need to do is top up. Elizabeth said, call it 6 hours of online training per week. So if 80% of their salary takes them down to, I don't even know what apprentice minimum wage is, Michelle. You know what it is. You just need to top up the 20% back up to the, whatever is it, £3.90 or £3.90.
It'll be going up. It'll be going up tomorrow.
Yeah. And we still have to pay the £180 a month that we pay for John's tax if he's not working. So why would he pay the tax? It would depend on his situation. Well, if you can afford to pay it, because there is going to be a tax bill if you think, Joanne, because everything's shut down, 11/12 into the tax year, so the majority of work for the year has been done. So the tax is still going to be due in January. So if you can, obviously look at and I guess the cash flow could be used for your personal circumstances as well. We've not really touched on personal too much, but look at it for your personal circumstances. Just change the headings on income and expenses for what's coming in and out of your bank account. But do a personal cash flow and have a look at it and see whether it's something you can pay. If you can't afford to pay it and you need it these next few months to pay mortgage or rates or whatever it is to make sure that you can stay in your property, defer it and don't pay it. But if you're in a situation where you can pay it and it's not going to cause you harm, even if this goes on for 6 months, we recommend you still pay it, because you're going to have to pay it in January next year anyway. And you're just spreading that bill. So rather than paying 2,400, I can't afford to pay it. I don't want to be behind. I can't afford to pay it. I think if you can afford to pay it, but like I said earlier, do that personal cash flow and just see where you're going to be.
Yeah, I think it's important to look at it. If you do think you can pay for things, whilst there's a lot of breaks at the moment out there, we don't know how long any of this is going to go on for. The cash flow spreadsheet is really, really useful for that. Again, if anyone hasn't got that and they want it, email us, we'll send it over. Michael's recorded a really good supporting video to show you how to use it. So yeah, I think it's a good tool for those that just don't know what it's going to look like in 6 months with different scenarios.
Great. Has anyone else got any more questions? You want to put your hand up and have a chat? Just want to say hello to someone if you're just on your own.
Yeah, because it is pretty lonely working at home.
Yeah. So if John didn't get paid for 6 months, would his tax be less? Yeah, but that'll be in the next tax year. So what we'd be looking to do there is reduce your payments on account. So so let's just say your income is going to be 30k. We would then base next year's tax bill on an income of 20k if it was, or 15k if it was halved. Oh, thanks so much for this. It's amazing. Right. Thank you. You're welcome. Just doing what we can.
Oh, Timmy's just had a call from Wigan Council.
It's like they knew we were talking about them.
Probably hacked into us. Does he want it? Do you want to talk, Timmy? Or
I sent us not an
Oh,
email. No swearing, Timmy. We're sending this out to everybody. We don't know what they said. You're going to leave us on tenterhooks?
I've unmuted you, Timmy. What have they said? Can you share
All right,
it
okay.
or not?
Yeah, cheers. So she just rang and apologised. I've emailed them like 4 times. So she rang and apologised, this woman from a mobile number, and said we started to send letters out, but then realised that it'd probably be pointless going to businesses because no one's there.
Yeah.
So she's just said we've sorted an email and I'll send you the email over with a link, because I kind of said I'm a bit concerned all the other councils are sending letters out and you're still saying you're none the wiser of what's going on. So what I will do is, so you can send it on to any businesses you've got in Wigan, I'll forward the email she sends to me today.
Great.
All right.
Oh, someone's got the
Right.
10k grant. Has that been paid into your bank, Colin?
Cheers, Tim.
Yeah. Yeah, cheers, mate. Yep. Wow. That's good news. That's great news, Colin. I think I was a day behind or 2 days behind. I only got to it Friday night, so mine probably got logged on Monday. So hopefully we'll get ours this week. So it seems like the councils are moving pretty quick when they get the information. Do we get a reduction on our council tax? Have a chat with them again. I know Chorley Council were looking personally at moving the year from April to June. I don't think they're going to give a reduction, if I'm honest. I think, yeah, they may do. I guess it depends if it goes on for 6 months or not, doesn't it? I know I read today that recycling was stopping collections. I saw in the Guardian before.
Great. Has anyone else got anything? Or shall we wrap it up?
Yeah, anyone else wants to chat?
Obviously, we'll send this out to everyone later. I'm sure on the back of it there'll be a lot more questions, maybe stuff you never even thought of. So if you are in the WhatsApp group, fire it over there. We'll answer as and when we can, and we'll try and keep the webinars, even if we just do one a week. If no more announcements happen, we'll just all touch base and make sure everyone's still on track with everything.
Yeah. Great.
Great.
All right, guys. Well,
Okay,
thanks very much for your
guys.
time. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.